What's up, guys? Today I want to make a quick video going over some of the best large language models that exist in my opinion. And when I mean best, I don't only mean just performance, but also its additional capabilities that some other models don't have, as well as its license and how open it is to commercial applications. What you see behind me is the Open LLM Leaderboard on Hugging Face. It has a variety of metrics for many different models, including the average of those metrics. And unsurprisingly is that I believe that one of the best two models to use for commercial LLM applications is the recently released Falcon-40B Instruct. The reason for this is pretty simple. Going back to the Open LLM Leaderboard, it is number one. But additionally to that is the license has recently been changed, I think less than a week ago, to the Apache license. Previously, it was under a permissive license unless you use this model to run a business that made over $1 million in revenue, and then you would have to give a percentage of any additional profits to the foundation that made this model. We can see looking at the leaderboard that it beats out many other models, many of which are actually bigger than the Falcon model, which is 40 billion parameters. 65 billion here. We have, of course, Llama, which not that long ago was the top dog. But of course, something important to remember is that Llama was never released under a commercial-friendly license, and so it was not an option for businesses to use. But now we have smaller models, and by extension faster, and better performing models in the form of Falcon. So right away, this model is definitely, obviously, one of the best models. One neutral to slightly negative thing about this model is that it has a max sequence length of 2048, which is kind of standard for these open source models. However, some models have longer context windows, such as the Stable M model that I covered, which actually turned out not to be as good as originally thought, and you can go ahead and check out that video if you would like, and check out where it is on the leaderboard. It's not as good as originally thought. But when models like ChatGPT and GPT-4 have context windows of 16K and 32K, it is nice to be able to have that additional context window for developing applications. Theoretically, you could take models like the Falcon model and fine-tune it on longer sequences, but during the training on the 1 trillion tokens, the max sequence it saw was 2048, and so due to the way that its positional embeddings work, as well as due to the fact that it hasn't seen a lot of data that extends longer than 2048, in fact, it's seen none that extend farther than 2048, it would take a lot of training, and you probably would not obtain as good of results as you would with a model that was trained with a longer sequence length from the get-go. That's where the second model I recommend comes in. It's called MPT, and we can see it right here, and we can see that it's, kind of middle of the pack, a little bit further down than the top Falcon model, but it's only 7 billion parameters, and in fact performs better on benchmarks than Llama. Additionally, it is commercially friendly, unlike Llama, so you're able to make applications and not worrying about lawsuits, to be frank. So besides it being commercially friendly and better performing than the Llama 7B, what really is interesting about this model is that it is prepared to handle extremely long inputs, meaning that while it's trained on sequences of 2048, like most of the models that are open sourced, thanks to its use of Alibi as its positional encoding, it's able to handle longer inputs and adjust to longer inputs without retraining. Looking at the paper for Alibi, we can see two charts that kind of show what this means. So we have a whole bunch of different positional encoding methods, sinusoidal being the original transformer, and then rotary being the more popular type of embedding nowadays. And then the new-ish method is Alibi, and we can see that a model was trained on 512 tokens, and a model was trained on 1,024 tokens. And even as the inference increases far beyond 512 and 1,024, we see that the perplexity does not explode as these other positional embeddings do. And if you do not know, as perplexity increases, typically that means the results are worse. And so this means that we can, in fact, the name of the paper is called Train Short, Test Long. So you're able to train on short sequences and then inference on longer. And ideally, you train long and test long, or train long-ish and test longer. But you're able to, the important thing is you are able to extend it without retraining. And this is the only model that I've seen thus far that has this capability, and that is why I recommend it. The model comes, of course, in the base variety, which was just the pre-training variety. A model trained on books with 65K context, instruction-based model on debate trained to follow instructions, and then a chat model. All of these, but the chat model, are commercially friendly licensed, and so you could make an application and not have to worry about being in violation of any licenses, is my understanding. Scrolling down a bit more, we can see exactly how easy it is to make it so that you can change the sequence length. And right here, so you load the config, and you just change one parameter of the config, the max sequence length parameter. And then you load the model, give them the name and the config, and then trust remote code equal to true. And now you have a MPT model that has a context window of 4,096 that, according to the Alibi paper, will not suffer in the same way as the other models will that use rotary embeddings. And this opens up a lot more possibilities for having more information in the context window and then asking questions, more examples in few shot, or fine-tuning on longer sequences after changing this value. Speaking of fine-tuning, I have successfully increased the context window to roughly 2,200 and started fine-tuning just as a proof of concept, and it seemed to be working. So as long as I am correct in my understanding that everything was working, you can expect a video on that in the somewhat near future as well. So in conclusion, if you need the best possible model that you can host yourself, Falcon-40B Instruct seems to be that model, and it seems to be gaining a lot of attention in the open source community. So I expect more and more support for it, like Llama received, to be coming in the following months and weeks. Additionally, if you need a model that can handle longer sequences, or just need a well-performing but smaller model, MPT seems to be that model, as no other model that I'm aware of has such good performance, a commercially friendly license, and is adjustable, easily adjustable in this context window. So with that, that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you liked the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. Also, consider joining the Discord for some light technical assistance, as well as to discuss the latest in AI. Thank you so much for watching, and please have a great day.